I want to talk to you about the rock band Van Halen. Why wouldn't I? Judging by the way I'm dressed, you would think that headbanging hard rocker is my middle name. Van Halen, of course, is credited with returning hard rock to the forefront of music after that great disco debacle of the 1970s. And if, by the way, any of you ever danced under a mirror ball while wearing a leisure suit, you should probably go to confession before coming for communion, and you know who you are. But the other thing that Van Halen is known for and has been written about perhaps the most is this infatuation they had with M&Ms. There was a rider on every one of Van Halen's concert contracts that required there be a bowl of M&Ms in their dressing room backstage. It further required that all of the brown M&Ms needed to have been removed. There could be no brown M&Ms. And this is often written about and accusing them of sort of reaching this new epoch of celebrity self-indulgence. But in truth, there was a method to their madness. There was a very astute business purpose for this request. Van Halen put on quite an amazing stage show. And they were using some very high-powered lighting and some advanced technology for that time. And most of the venues that they were performing in had never hosted a concert like this before. So they put this M&M rider buried into their contract so they could walk into their dressing room backstage, and if that bowl of M&Ms was there and all of the brown ones had been removed, they knew that their contract had been read thoroughly, that people were paying attention to everything, and all details were accounted for. If, however, that bowl of M&Ms was missing or there were brown ones mixed in, they then would dispatch their own tech crew to go across the venue and triple check everything to make sure it was installed properly and everyone would be safe. Details matter. Details matter. And they wanted to make sure that everyone had the details right. And Jesus, in his message to us this morning, is saying, details matter. How are we doing with that? Have we really read through and paid attention to our covenant? Do we? What if, just spitballing here, what if this entire existence is like that bowl of M&Ms? It's a little far out there perhaps, but what if this life that we have in this limited time, in this little limited space, is a simulation? What if it's a metaphor for something so much greater? How are we doing with the details? Do we truly love every person? I don't think Jesus is ambiguous about that, right? I mean, love your neighbor as yourself. You love your enemy. I don't think there's a lot of ambiguity there. Do we truly love every person that God has created? Or do we sort of love generally and hope that's good enough? Do we truly care for the least among us? Or do we mostly care for some among us and hope that God's okay with that? When we give, do we really truly give of ourselves? Do we give from our own hearts? Do we share who we are, our talents, our time, our resources to reach out to others and touch other lives? Or are we mostly concerned with our own life and we just give a little bit off the top and hope that that checks the box? And what about this creation, this world that we've been entrusted to steward? How are we doing with that? Are we paying attention? We probably have some work to do there. We do definitely have some work to do there. This life that we're living is really something, but it's not everything. In fact, in the grand scheme of things, it's really hardly anything. We're here for such a short time in this small place, this single little planet in this vast infinite universe. And if we can't get love right here, in just the few short years that we're here in this one tiny little spot, if we can't get love right, how are we possibly ready to enter into the infinite, grand love of God? We have this notion that this is my life, my time, that we own it. And we don't realize that we're just stewards of it. And it's just a small little piece of a much larger, big, infinite, unending picture. You can't serve both God and mammon, Jesus says. And God is in the details, in every person and every child, in every river and every tree. And if we can't get the details right, if we don't see that because we're so preoccupied with our own self-interest, our own self-advancement, our own fears and anxieties. We're so preoccupied with self that we're not able to give that over, even in this small time and space, to enter into true, deep, meaningful love and engagement and appreciation for one another and creation. The Creator is expressed through the creation, and we are all part of that creation. If we can't do that here and now, how are we possibly ready to open ourselves up and enter in to the vast, infinite love of God? This is really a hard gospel. But mostly I think it's a challenging gospel. And it's also a hopeful gospel because it invites us to grow deeper and broader, to get bigger in our love and bigger in our faith. And the good news is we can do that. And we still have time to do that. But we probably best get busy.